Hey, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. I am Sneha Jadhav, your host for Weekly Wednesday. Uh, with us, we have our very own Sudha. Thank you so much for joining. Today, we're going to talk about ChatGPT, and you could say to me, Sam's Wigglesworth, but due to some issues, she may not be able to join us live. But we do have a recording from her that we would like to share. But before that, our very own Sudha is going to uh, give us a quick overview on the plugin for ChatGPT that she's been talking about and very, very, very excited about. So, um, before any further delay, Sudha, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sneha. So, hello everyone, and I'm always happy to come back to Weekly Ved. And so Sam Wigglesworth has spoken to us and taught us NLP at Business School of AI, and she did a short presentation comparing NLP based chatbots from the past to GPT-3 based chatbots and what is the difference. And she did that on Women's Day that happens on March 8th, and we have this series called Women's Planning. And so we invited Sam and said, do a longer session. So she's not able to join us live today. So what we are going to do is I'm going to show you a very exciting implementation of ChatGPT. And then we are going to show you Sam's video on how she said how we'll go through the whole NLP based chat building. So that's the plan for today. Okay. So everybody knows ChatGPT. So it'll be too redundant to say, explain what is ChatGPT. But I want to ask you, if you were to describe in one word, compared to the chatbots from the past and ChatGPT, what is different? Why is it different? Yes, it is trained on huge data. It is a generative AI, and it continues to chat with us. But when you build a chatbot, and it is going to be a ChatGPT based chatbot versus a chatbot from the past, what is the difference? And Suresh has been here through the class where we worked with Sam, and she told us how to build a customer service system. It is very tedious. Why is it tedious when we start the old way versus the new way? What is anything different? If anybody wants to answer, you can speak up. And we are streaming this live on YouTube and LinkedIn. And so those of you who are here, if you don't want to be recorded on camera, please don't come on camera, and you don't need to speak up if you don't want to be in the recording too, but you can chat. So those of you who are my students are here in the Zoom. And if you have joined Weekly Ved on Business School of AI, we will send you an invite if you're interested to be in here too. This is where Sneha was able to see the reflection of the site I was looking at. Okay, so I hear improved, ChatGPT is improved, is not just how it responds. Okay, so close answer. So the big difference is when we start building chatbots, we always need to know, okay, the customer is going to come and chat with us. What is the intent of the customer? What are they coming for? So if it is going to be a banking application and the customer is going to come and say, I want to check my account balance. I want to move my money here, or something is wrong, my money is not showing up, or I want to create a new account. So there could be various reasons or intentions for which the customer would come and chat. So you have to as a human, make a list of all possible things, the intent or intentions the customer might come for. And then you have to keep a thread for what the chat would do, right? And so that is how you train the AI on the back end with that data based on the various different intentions. So there's a basic NLP model. So we have used IBM Watson in the past, and that's an NLP based chatbot. And then we'll have to create the intent. So if it is going to be a travel agency and people are coming and chatting, they could come and ask about a travel ticket they already had. They want to cancel an existing ticket, or they could ask about the whole world and say, I want a ticket to go to Brazil. I want a ticket to go to Peru. I want to go to anywhere, right? And so you have to plan the intent, and it gets very tedious. So that is what the past way is, but still it's very powerful because you have a lot of control, because you know what your customer comes for. You have a lot of that customer data. So the new way of doing generative AI and with ChatGPT is it understands context. So ChatGPT is built on GPT 3.5, which is a foundation model. And we have learned about foundation models right here in 2021. And if you go to Weekly Wednesday to the archives, on Business School of AI, you will find past recordings, and you will find our foundation model. And I remember talking to you all the same thing. What is foundation model? Why is it? Till we arrived at this, that it generates content was what I was going for. So that's the big difference. And the difference is, with the old way of doing it, it is supervised, which means you have to give all the data in all the intentions and capture it. And then with the new way, with the ChatGPT, it is trained on a big, large data set as a foundation model. So it is unsupervised learning. You just build the chat bot on top of it. So that's the thinking. And then ChatGPT has a lot more, where you're not, because it is also working on various modalities, not just on text. Right now we have a newer versions, which is there is GPT-4, which can do images and everything else, right? So you can ask ChatGPT to generate code. So it has the capability to generate code in its brain. And so what I'm going to show you today is not a plugin. It's actually an integration. One of our favorite sites are done. Do you remember Akio? We use that. It's a no-code AI platform for machine learning. So I've shown that in the past, where you log into Akio and you can enter a data set, any kind of data numbers, and ask it to build a machine learning model. We've done that here in our class at Business School of AI, where we used IBM Watson and we used Akio, and then we build a machine learning model for customer churn, if you remember that. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, this is actually creating a lot of glare on my face. I hope this one has less glare. Okay. So what I'm going to show you is, I'm going to show you Akio. Let me share my screen and show you an Akio screen. Where is Akio? I don't see a window for Akio. I'm going to make one. Okay, I'm back here. So what I'm going to show you is, yes, and Bob is saying it's conversation without programming. That's right. And Suresh is saying it's how the UI responds. So the UI responds in a more context-aware way. So if I'm chatting with ChatGPT, it remembers the context as long as it's in the same session. Again, for those of you who are thinking of doing this for your companies, when a customer comes in and chats with an intelligent chat, let me expand it to intelligent chat and not just ChatGPT, because you might be using the API and build any kind of intelligent chat, right? So the customer comes in and logs in and starts talking. As long as the session is maintained, that means it's just continuous and you didn't close the window and go away, then it remembers the context. If you close the window and I go back again, it will ask you, who are you? So that you need to be aware of that. It is aware of context, but within the same session. So when you're building this for your customer, how do you retain the session? And how long do you retain the session? And what is that context? Is it just human-like conversation you're interested in? Is there more? So they've connected to an account and they're having customer support, or they're connected to a website and they're doing some kind of e-commerce. There could be various reasons they're chatting. And so you are maintaining that session becomes important. Okay. So now I am going to Akio. So this is the site, akio.com, and it has a limited free option. So I'm just logged in and I have all of these data set that I have setup. So this is a customer churn, telco customer churn data set that I have uploaded. And this is a data set I got from Kaggle. And this is my favorite one. This is a very common one that you use for all kinds of machine learning classes everywhere. Even the ones with coding, this is a very favorite one of people. So it's called telco customer churn data set. And you will find that, I believe it is originally from IBM. And it's like a simulated telco company saying, here's the customer ID. This is all their demographics. Let me go further and see what else is showing. It says how long the tenure, how long the customer has been with the company, what are the different services they bought from the company. Do they have phone service? Do they have multiple lines? Do they have DSL or fiber optics? Have they bought online security? Yes or no? These are all like columns in this hypothetical telco customer churn data set. And then this also are different services, right? And then they're saying, hey, the customer might be signed up for paperless billing, yes or no? Have they chosen a payment method of mailed checks or bank transfer or electronic check and all that? And then this is again, how much money are they spending with the company and what on a monthly basis and what is the total charge? And since this is looking at churn, the important column here is where's the customer churned, yes or no? So this means this yes means this customer is not a customer with them anymore. They've churned. But you have to have, because this is binary classification data on a churn, yes or no. So you have to have good data and bad data. So if you're running a campaign and you want to see whether the customer clicked on the campaign, yes or no, you have to have data of customers who clicked yes and people who didn't click no, right? So you need to have both of them. Only then you can build that. So all that is taken care of. And we got this telco customer churn data set right here. Okay. I'm going to see. Okay. Sneha has to drop off today. So no problem. She's thanking us for weekly. Thank you for getting us started and hosting us every week, Sneha. We appreciate that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I was talking about ChatGPT and I said it can generate code. And if you remember, I had said that ChatGPT is done, or the intelligent chats are done with unsupervised learning. It does not need supervised learning, right? So what does that mean? That means you're not giving it data. So it is trained on some big model. So you could use GPT-4, or there is the model from Google called Lambda, which is very powerful and does dialogue. So the one that you see on the new Bing is from GPT, and the one from Google Chat is Lambda. So you will see there are various options like that. But coming back, I said we are building the intelligent chat bots on large data set, and that's how the foundation models are built. So these companies are giving us foundation models. So we're going to use one of them. That is unsupervised learning. Then why are we looking at a data set? Because the way for us to use it for our data set, which is the data set we have for our company, we have to do the next step modeling on it. So remember, when you use AI in enterprise, you're always getting an API from somebody and they built it on some data set. This time, foundation models are built on a huge data set, right? And that's done with unsupervised learning. When they say, here's a foundation model, the next step of it, we have to model the data on our data set. So that is what we will do here with chatbots also. So you have to take if you're a banking customer service department, you take your banking customer service data, or if you're the travel agent, you take that, what do customers come for, and that buyer experience data, you take that and you actually have to do a supervised model on top of that. And that is what you're actually doing. So when you try to build an intelligent chatbot, instead of the old-fashioned way of saying, here are different intents, what are the customers going to come for, you're going to take the data set and you're going to run a modeling on top of the foundation models. So that is why it is called semi-supervised learning, because you have the unsupervised learning has already been done. You're going to do supervised learning with a very small data set, and it is going to do transfer learning from the brain of what it has in its data set, and it's going to generate the chat. And the difference is it's going to generate the chat. It's not going to go back into its memory and just spit out what it already has in historic data. So coming back, now I'm going to go back and show the Accio screen. Does anybody have any question or comment, observation from what you have done so far in your AI life? Or any question for me? Because I'm going to show you the real exciting thing. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my Accio screen. I believe this is the Accio screen. Yeah. So what I have here, what I was showing is I've gone to Accio.com and I've uploaded the telco customer churn data set. I was just showing you all the different columns and how rich this data set is. Okay, so we could have built a chatbot which is just going to do customer service, and you can go do that easily with any of these generative AI, text-based modality APIs. I'm not interested in that. Everybody is doing intelligent chatbots. So if you want to do that, that's easy. What I want to show you is you can actually, so the way you build out an intelligent chatbot or use ChatGPT is by doing supervised learning with your own data set. So what Accio people have done here is they are actually using ChatGPT to create code to run SQL to do data prep. So they're calling it data prep. Chat data prep. It's not a tongue twister. It feels like it. So what I'm going to show you is, here is all the different columns. I'm not going to do data cleaning. They have a data cleaning option. I'm just going to prep the data, which means I'm just going to keep the columns I want. Remember, we learned about feature engineering when you do machine learning and test too many columns. I don't need all these columns. So what if I decided, hey, all this telling me about whether the customer has a payment method, this payment method. It's not, I don't need this column. I want to delete this column. Normally, you would have to run a SQL code and go delete this and get the remaining data set, right? It has 7,000 rows, 20 columns, right? So now they have integrated chat here, and I'm going to say filter out. I'm talking like a chat. I'm talking in chat, right? Filter out the column. Which one am I doing? Paperless billing?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Paperless billing. Yeah. I'm just speaking in English. I'm chatting with this, with Accio, and I'm saying just filter out the column called paperless billing. And it gives me an option. What I like here, the way Accio is very good at the interface they do because it's no code AI. And so now there is ChatGPT on the back end, or a ChatGPT like some kind of intelligent chatbot on the back end. It takes this filter out the column paperless billing, and it says, okay, so is this right of how I'm understanding this? And it gives the English version of this. And it says, remove the column paperless billing from this input data set and return the modified data set. So it's saying, is this is what the AI is interpreting. So they're creating transparency. Remember, we always have this complaint of AI is doing something, but it's not explainable, and we don't know what it is doing. So before they go off and translate this sentence, what I'm asking to what the AI thinks it should be doing, the AI says, I'm going to remove this column, paperless billing, from this input data set, which is this telco data set, and I'm going to return the modified data set. So that means it has to just remove this paperless billing. It's highlighted that, and it has to show me 19 columns, and it has to keep all the rows. So I'm going to say transform. So what it is doing is it generates the SQL code to do that, and then it runs the SQL code on the data. And so now it is down to 19 columns, and what I was showing you as paperless billing is not to be seen here. See? So it's done a simple SQL to remove one particular column that I was asking to remove, and it is done. So I wanted to share this because all the excitement about ChatGPT is showing that you can chat. Here we chatted with a data set. Isn't that so cool? So questions, comments, observations, exclamations. Let me see. Any comments from anybody here who's and for those of you who are watching the stream, I apologize. I'm not able to come in and look at it right now, but you can just come in. Suresh, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so I've played a little bit with Power BI, Sudha. This is a Microsoft product.
Yeah.
And that has the interface to chat with your data as well, ask questions about your data in the Power BI. So it's a good implementation of how they are integrating the chat and the
that's right.
data.
So
data.
I actually think the power. So when you say it's generating code, then you think, oh, that's people who are programming. Now they are not going to use it. Instead, it is going to be generating code for them, right? That's not true. So now when you're working with enterprise data, your company data, you could be in any kind of department. Now you're basically making it do some kind of integration. And essentially what they've done is they've done an integration, right? So that I think that's where the power of this, yes, it could be customer service, it could be buyer experience, and it can come and chat because they have ready data. That's a very obvious one. But you could actually do a lot of automations with all kinds of devices, right? Because now you're basically generating the code to make it do something. In this case, I showed you data. So you can take a lot of data set. So Suresh, I would love to see if you have the time and bandwidth to come back to us here and show us this Power BI, what it looked like in the past. What do you have when you chat with it? Is it a similar experience, Suresh?
Yeah, it is a similar experience, Sudha. It is.
Okay.
I'll show it. I'll bring it and show it to you sometime.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. So this is the simplest case where it is actually doing SQL. And then it can delete a column, add a row, do some things like basics thing, right? Update some things. And they're just doing very basic thing there. You could do complex joins with different tables and this and that. Essentially, it's generating a SQL code. But I just thought this was the cleanest implementation. I just loved it. And I like that they've created that interface where it tells you what the AI is going to do before it does, before you transform the data set. And that I think is because Accio does a very good UI. And I think that explainability is needed. You cannot go into a customer premise and just say, okay, I deleted the column and then, oops, that's not what you were asking for, right? Things like that. So with that, I just want to pause this whole ChatGPT. Yes, sorry.
No, that's good. No, Accio definitely has a good UI. In the Power BI, I think the interface could be improved a little bit, but Accio seems to have a good interface for sure.
So what everybody is doing is everybody who was doing chat has now created a intelligent chat option. I use GoDaddy for one of my sites. I use Wix for another of my site. So in any of those website generation tools, you go and you have an option of adding a chatbot. Now you have an option of adding a intelligent chatbot. And so you just add and, it would have, and you have to program it, right? Because when you say intelligent chatbot, it's not open-ended, right? If you're saying, hello, how are you? And all that, it can understand. But if you want it to work for e-commerce, if you want to work for travel, if you want to work it for medical services, you want it to do some customer support specific for a company, then you have to have it do something more. And so that is what I find that you have to do the modeling with your data set. And then you actually do that. So that is where the real work you will be doing with your data set. And you have to pick one of these APIs and run with it. And then the value that you bring is you're always thinking about your customer. Why are you doing this? What are you giving the customers other than the excitement of heck can do this, right? So that is where it becomes, I always say that your superpower is to ask the right question and come and do this. And, that's where it becomes valuable. You think about what can it do? Now, it can actually create code and execute code, and you can create an integration into a data set. So that's the use case I showed you. Now you take that and run with it and say, okay, how I can make my life easy for customers. And I'm very, very big on no-code AI. So for me, I like this kind of implementation because it is no-code AI. Okay, so I want to pause here. I have a book on generative AI. If you guys have not seen it, it's called Generative AI, a primer for product and business managers. So I did not even see this demo from Akio while I was writing the book. The book launched last Friday, and but it explains all the different models in English if you're curious about that. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to show you Sam's video that she had done, which explains how she built the chatbot in the past, right? Because that is not going to go away. So this is something she did in the
women on the
sorry.
9th of it.
So this is something she had done last year, and it's not dated because building chatbots from non-chat GPT way still exists. The reason I want to show you is you might be interested in building a chatbot. Great, then this is the exact tutorial for you. But also the way the brains of how the NLP models work and how they understand data and chunk it, the way it was done in NLP is what she's explaining. Let me the words, the phrases for that. So which I thought is very useful. So I'm going to show a little bit of that. Is that okay, guys? Do you want to see that a little bit? I just
Sure.
don't show you
Yeah,
like
sure.
a 50 minutes video and just sit, all of us watch together. What's the I can
Sure,
do-
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. And you can ask me questions if you want. I can pause and answer questions if that's you. I'm trying to find the window so that it doesn't. Okay. Here we go. Okay, you see the full screen with Sam here? Okay, so we had IoT Day on Sunday and we had 24-hour of recording with a lot of good stuff. So if you go to our same place on Business School of AI on Teachable where you are, I think it's called bit.ly/IoT Women, if I remember right. You will see, and it's on my YouTube. It's easiest thing if you just follow my YouTube.
From 2022. I am going to university as an. So my background is that I am a teacher. I've got quite a few years experience working in high schools, and I've previously taught in university as an associate lecturer. And I'm a founder of an organization called Girls and Boys in Tech, and the Language School, which was and is an organization that focuses on delivering STEM and language training and tutoring to underrepresented groups. It's also an organization where I'm developing EdTech applications as well, particularly for education and for young people in a range of different subjects. To support them in understanding and really enhancing their experience and knowledge of key subjects across the curriculum. I had a background in software project management, and I've worked as an analyst for international companies across the world and traveled quite widely.
Sam is amazing.
I have been a mentor as well and an SME for hackathons, particularly for Data Ethics for All and App Makers. And I'm a member of the leadership team as well with Ethics for All, and I'm responsible for working with the content team to write and curate original articles on our blog and our community, specifically focusing on artificial intelligence, data ethics, and technology. I just wanted, because I'm currently writing a paper on that. Okay, so the key concepts for machine learning, and particularly for NLP, range from, again, NLP, NLG, and NLU, tokenization and stemming, as well as lemmatization.
That's what I want you guys to learn.
At a very high level, natural language understanding and natural language generation are just subsets or components of natural language processing. Okay, and then we can see here the definitions of those three concepts. Now, tokenization in natural language processing is actually a process of dividing up text in sentences into smaller chunks. And you can see an example here. And essentially it's around filtering, tokenizing, and then grouping key parts of a sentence. And
I want to pause here because one of the things that is important, even if you say I'm not interested in the old fashioned NLP, this concept of tokenization is what in the brains of generative AI text modality APIs out there. So you will be charged on tokens. So it's important to understand how the brain of the NLP AI thinks about tokens, because people think of tokens as words. It's exactly not a word. It is could be part of the word if the word is a multi-syllable word.
And then getting those results. It's a really fundamental step as well in both traditional NLP methods like count vectorizers and advanced deep learning. And then we have stemming as well. So after you've actually split sentences up into those key fundamental components and words, tokenization as we call it, we then have to reduce those words to their base or their root form. And this is where sometimes a background in linguistics and languages really helps, because that is something that we are taught in both grammar and the structure of language. But what do we mean by that? Well, it's essentially what stemming is, okay? It's going back to the roots and the base form of a particular word. It's a technique or a method of reducing words right down to their stem or their root form, as you can see here. Computerizing computer, the stemmer algorithm would generate the keyword compute, the verb compute, okay? You can see that. Then we have lemmatization as well. And lemmatization in NLP is the process through which several different forms of the same word are mapped to one single form, which we can call the root form or the base form. And we can see here a demonstration of that here with the words consign, consigned, consigning, and consignment. We have the stemming process on the left, where you have a stem filter applied, and then lemmatization, which is looking at parts of speech, tagging those parts of speech, and then the lemmas being categorized then just underneath. You can also see as well just how broadly how deep the applications go when it comes to natural language processing and how many groups there are. So I found this visual really useful. There's 3 key groups for deep applications of NLP, okay? And we just talked a little bit briefly about lemmatization, stemming, and tokenization or cleanup. But actually, NLP can be applied to speech tagging and parts of speech tagging, as well as query, text and query expansion, parsing, topic segmentation and recognition, as well as looking at morphological segmentation, words and sentences. And then it expands to information retrieval and extraction, relationship extraction, as well as word sense disambiguation. Okay, and broadly, we can then go into machine translation, which is in group 3. Okay, and natural language generation, which we will talk about very quickly towards the end, or we talk about GPT-3, and full generation of text, human-like generation of text. And in group 3, you also have reasoning and knowledge-based responses to NLP, to questions in NLP applications, which I will also briefly go over in a little while. Okay, so then we look at as well the groupings, and I think this is really important when it comes to NLU and NLP. Within this particular this graphic, you have then the NLP and NLU overlaps, and then what is outside of that traditionally. So text-to-speech and automatic speech recognition sit outside of, would you believe, NLP and NLU, but within that space, you have some overlap. So question answering, for example, is actually partially NLP and partially NLU. But semantic parsing and sentiment analysis is actually linked to natural language understanding, okay? As is building a dialogue agent, such as a chatbot, and actually asking questions of an NLP chatbot. Okay.
So the famous generative AI algorithms of today, Lambda from Google, focuses on this dialogue, and they do a very good job of the conversation that we like ChatGPT is doing. The same thing with the GPT family, right? They focus on, we are going to come and ask a query. It is going to maintain the context, and it's going to keep up a dialogue. So the dialogue flow, earlier in the pre-foundation model world, it was called conversational AI. And a lot of effort was done by all the companies who are building NLUs and leading to NLP for voice assistant. And they had to bake all this in a very using data in a different way. And so one of the reasons I wanted you to understand this limitations and tokenizing is because tokens is what you will be charged for when you use the API. And it's good to understand, when you have a large data set and it is trained by that large data set, that's what you will hear all the time. What does that mean? What Sam is showing is all the different components and how it was done in traditional NLP. So we've not lost traditional NLP. We've not created something new. We've just created a way of taking that deep learning model, which is trained with large data set, and then doing supervised learning with a small data set on top of it for our own modeling for whatever we want to do. So if you want to build something for machine translation versus sentiment analysis versus dialogue, it's not the same thing. You'll have to do that natural language understanding based on your data set you're going to give it based on what you want your AI to be able to do. And it is not the same.
NLP is very specifically about tagging parts of speech, text categorization, and machine translation, translating large text corpora into other languages instantaneously. Okay, so they're the groupings of both of those. Okay, so let's just move on to our next section. You can see as well the overlap here when it comes to NLP with machine learning and deep learning, okay, and AI. Within the middle, you have translation software. So machine learning and NLP overlap when it comes to translation software. Chatbots, particularly the ones that we build, that I'm building with my quizzical chatbot project, is again an overlap between artificial intelligence and machine learning and NLP. Okay. So NLP occurs when our computers read and transform input text into structured data, because that's essentially what the aim is with NLP. It evolved from computational linguistics and uses methods from various disciplines. For example, it enables computers to understand human language in both written form and verbal form, because as you know yourself, if you see in the applications of NLP, and the inputs from us as users is often either written or verbal or audio. Computational linguistics has more of a focus on the aspects of language, and natural language processing emphasizes its use of machine learning and deep learning techniques. And natural language processing works by taking unstructured data and converting it to structured data. And that's where the deep learning applications and the models come in.
So this now the world knows about, the ChatGPTs of the world, or Lambda and GPT, how they are actually doing this question answer session or language translation. So I want to pause this video share at that because we are reaching the end of the hour. You like it, Bob? Thank you so much. Because I like demystifying tech and making sure that, we all have all this information already. We have a lot of recordings of past lessons and speakers that we've been listening to each week. So we have this information. So hopefully what we did today is we saw an implementation of ChatGPT, which was an integration into a data set to generate a SQL query and automate the data prep process for us. And Suresh said that he's seen the same kind of integration that Microsoft is doing in Power BI, and he's going to bring a sample of that sometime. So think about that. And then I told you that the large language models are essentially doing NLP, but they are doing it on a large data set, which was the world, right? So this is done in English. They took everything from the internet and they trained foundation models. And so we are still talking only chat. Today, I'm talking only on text modality. That's what I'm not even talking about voice modality. I'm just talking about text. And then we went back 1 year back because we have IoT Day this Sunday with a lot of recording and a lot of beautiful sessions by amazing speakers. And I went back to a year back when Sam Wigglesworth was showing us about NLP, NLU, lemmatization, tokenization, how it is done. And I hope that gives you an idea that that is the foundation model piece. And then we are going to do the supervised learning with our own data set to make it do a certain application-oriented function. That is how we are going to train the models. But there is one fundamental difference. The foundation models do the tokenization and all that stuff that she was showing, but they are not these days, the foundation models are not trained using the same method that we did with NLP in the past. They use something called a transformer-based model. So essentially, when you're building, when we are going to give a huge data set, and you say, do deep learning for me, build a foundation model. We are not doing it because it's a large volume of data. That means it needs a lot of GPU power. So 5 or 6 companies are building out these foundation models, and we are expected to use that on top of it. So we are just doing the supervised modeling that's called fine tuning. That's the next layer stuff, right? So, but it's good to understand what's in the brains of how this is done because it's expensive. They've spent a lot of money on doing this and to create the foundation model and make it available as an API for us. That's why they're charging us for the API, okay? But it is good for us to understand the tokenization aspect of it. And second thing is, when you do this as a transformer model versus how it was done as open deep learning in the past, there is a difference. And that difference is what is making the chatbots more intelligent to understand and retain the context. And we can do this another time where I can show you what is a transformer-based model. There is a paper called Attention. Attention is all we need from Google that started this whole transformer-based models. I have it in my book on generative AI, a primer for product and business managers, but I'm also happy to chat and give this to you guys if you're on LinkedIn or here on the chat. So we can go look at what a transformer-based model is. In essence, what it is doing is we gave sentences in the deep learning model and it built the NLU that Sam was talking about. It chunked up the data, the text as data, and she calls it unstructured and makes it structured, which means we did not label it. Structured means we didn't chunk up the words and said these are words, and we did not put it in rows and columns, and we didn't label it. It was unlabeled data, unstructured data, and we just fed it, or they fed it when they built the foundation model. And it did the tokenization, but what the transformer model is doing is a concept called attention. It's not taking the entire data set of words and language and big documents or books that has been fed, chunk it up and say, these are all the words, and keeping it in its memory. Instead, it is doing the same tokenization, lemmatization, bringing the words down to their roots, but it is looking at that and saying, okay, I have this. It's creating a matrix of words in its memory. That is what the transformer model is doing, focused on this concept called attention. It says, I see this word, and this word seems to be used a lot. And so it is this particular word is connected to all these other words. And so it said, so when you type a word and you say, what, and then the ChatGPT is going to say, oh, what can be followed by all these other things based on what I have in my training brain. And so that's how it is guessing. It's always generating the next word based on guessing what it is. That's how it understands language. And Google had come up with a model called BERT, B-E-R-T, and they use that. It's bidirectional. So they would, it would actually see what is the word before a particular word, what is the word after it, and it stores both. And the GPT model now does that single directional. So it just continues on. So you have to literally, it's very tedious when you go to create a foundation model and train this. You have to take sentences, chunk it into smaller set of phrases so that it can break it into tokens, and then you have to feed it, and then it will actually say each word and what is the relationship of it and create a matrix in its brain. That is what ChatGPT and all the intelligent lambdas and other generation models for text modality have, and then it's going to you refer back to that in its brain, and it guesses the next word. It's simply doing the next best word guess, and it's generating the word. It's not just picking one from its memory. So I see a comment. Bob is saying, great clipper refresher, well explained. Yes, we haven't explained transformer. I'm just saying what the concept of transformer. We can have a session on transformer. Bob is asking about the business model. Business model on how these tools can be used is today it's APIs. You charge for the APIs, and they charge by a set of tokens. And I have that in my book if you want, Generative AI, a primer for product and business managers. Other than explaining the model, which I'm trying to do here today, I also have a section on business. What does that mean for business people? I have a section on product. How do you build product on it, which is different from a very attention-based, engagement-based concept of building a product in the past. It's an API integration world. So I have those as different sections. So maybe you can check it out. Or I'm happy to follow up with any of you. And thank you for that feedback, Bob. I will come back and see whether I can get you to teach transformer models. What does that mean? Or maybe I can bring somebody who's working with transformers and tell you the concept, foundational concept of transformers, because it's a whole new way of programming, not programming, but building deep learning models. And so that is it's good to understand the concept, because it basically does tokenization and lemmatization and how you get the data set. So when you take language data set from your company and you want to create a chatbot, you're actually going to train the chatbot on the next level stuff, right? Based on top of the foundation model. So you're going to do a bunch of this stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Adam is congratulating me on this, on the book. And he's saying the AI help these sentences be more properly punctuated. Yes. Yeah. The book is at bit.ly/generative AI book. Generative AI book. And I also have a site called generativeaibook.org where people are signing up, and I hope I will give you more content and updates. But this is my forum where I get to meet my students from the past and all of you. So I'm happy to share that. Bob, I would love for you to check it out and follow up with me. I'm happy to make sure we get the right speakers, the right content on an ongoing basis, since we meet every week. Okay, with that, I'm going to wrap up, guys. Let me give you the URL of the link that you saw from Sam today. There is also a very interesting site resource I saw. It is from University of Finland. They have a MOOC site, which is like a online course site. And in there, they have something called Applied Language Technology. And it's beautiful stuff. So maybe I'll come back. And they're talking about for people who are going to be working with Python and text, how do you get started with that? So since I do a lot of no-code AI stuff here, so I was not showing that. But it was showing about how do you process text using Spacey, and how do you evaluate language models, and the textual data, how do you make sense of that, for especially for linguists, for what is natural language processing? If you are a linguist, how do you make sense of that? So they have a beautiful course on that. So I'm going to copy that here. And at least for those of you who are here in the chat, I'm just giving that for you. If you're curious to look at that, Suresh, maybe you would like to look at that, because it's Python, but it talks to linguists. It has a lot of information of how text is broken and understood by the AI, so that you can go do some manipulation with it. So with that, I'm going to wrap up, and I will see you all next week, and Sneha will be back. And let me also give you the video that you saw from Sam today. Is right here. Yeah. And for those of you who are out in watching this on the live stream, apologies, I'm not giving you this on the, I'm just giving the chats. Carlos, we are just wrapping up. We usually go from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock here in California time these days. We moved it from 9 o'clock. So we are just wrapping up. And I showed them ChatGPT integration for talking to data to create SQL code, and you chat with it and it does data prep. I started with that, and then I showed a little recording from Sam Wigglesworth. I've put all that in the chat, so if you guys want, you can copy that or download that. And all this is also on my YouTube. So if you're new and you're just saying, I don't get to chat here, if you come to Business School of AI on Teachable, you will be able to get a Zoom link if you're interested. Otherwise, you can just follow me on LinkedIn or YouTube, and all of these recordings are sitting there in YouTube. So we looked at language. What does NLP, NLU in the brains of it? What does it look like? Tokenization, lemmatization, and all that cool stuff that Sam Wigglesworth explained to us. And hopefully we'll be able to bring Sam back another time. I don't think she's coming back next week. We have a different speaker scheduled for next week. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody. Carlos, if you want to follow up with me offline, I'm happy to help you. Thank you for joining us, and I'll hope to see you all next week. And you can follow up with me. I have a site, sudhajamthe.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Okay, thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Sudha.